You were supposed to be home an hour ago.
Welcome to the Backlot 605 podcast. I'm Casey.
I'm Brian.
And we are joined by Blake, who just is laughing.
I'm laughing.
Because I was this close to trying to interrupt you during your intro.
You've never done that before.
All the time, and I enjoy doing it every time.
Especially my outros. You like to mess those up all the time.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
No, so we are joined by Blake. He has joined the Backlot 605 team. So, Blake, thank you for being here again.
Thank you for having me.
And why are you here?
Because I love zombies.
Who doesn't like zombies?
That is true. Who doesn't like zombies?
If you don't like zombies, there's...
Fuck you.
I'm not endorsing that comment personally, but
No, that is a statement by the entire Backlot 605 team. If you don't like zombies, then fuck you.
Talk into your microphone so we can hear you.
Check, check, check. Anyway, the reason we are talking about
Our
zombies...
commentary is all by Casey.
What?
I was going to be like, you're going to start pissing people off. I'm going to start tagging you and shit. And she's like, just message him.
This is what this asshole said. No, the reason we're talking about zombies is because The Dead Don't Die is coming out this weekend, and we're like, fuck it, let's talk about zombies.
And what is it going up against that we decided we're going to talk about it instead?
Men in Black International and Shaft.
oh,
I don't like the Men in Black movies, so I didn't want to talk about those.
Why don't you like the Men in Black movies?
I think they're bland. They're boring.
they're fine.
Yeah,
they
fine.
they exist.
They're not.
I'm not the biggest Will Smith fan either.
Not. You have one bad experience with M. Night Shyamalan, and now all of a sudden all Will Smith movies are bad.
He has that effect on people.
He did have a really good run for the 4th of July for a few years there back in the late 90s.
Before you were born.
Before I was born, Brian, exactly.
That's right, I forgot.
Yeah, remember, I'm 12 years old hosting this thing. All right, let's jump into our usual shit.
Your usual shit.
Because I don't know how to segue out of Will Smith into this. All right, so the box
Here's
office.
how you segue.
What, Aladdin is third?
No. Will Smith, the man who used to own the box office. Well, since we're talking about the box office.
There you go. Secret Life of Pets 2 is number one. Thank you for the segue, Brian. $47 million this opening weekend for the animated sequel. Yeah, I never saw the first one.
Actually, I enjoyed the first one.
The first one is good.
The first one is good, and I will tell you, the first thing I saw when they were going, hey, Secret Life of Pets 2, I was like, I'm going to guess to say they're going to recast Max. And sure as crap, they did. Because Max, the main character, is played by Louis C.K.
Oh.
Ooh,
And,
yeah.
and now he's played by Patton Oswalt.
Oh. Who is a good voice actor?
He's an amazing voice actor. But no, I saw they were talking about this, and the first trailer I saw for this was all about Snowball. I was like, okay, so maybe they're spinning it off because of the Louis C.K. thing. And then I saw the next trailer, and they're bringing all the other characters in, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like Louis C.K. Yep, that's what I kind of figured. Illumination's probably like, nope, we're out.
To be fair, I mean, I don't think Louis C.K. has that voice that's recognizable for animated movies. It's like you go watch animated movies and you're like, oh, there's that guy or that guy.
Yeah.
I can't see Louis C.K. being that person.
I think if you're familiar with his comedy, he does have a familiar voice. But if you're just an everyday person who's taking their kids to go see the movie,
Sure.
They probably don't know two shits on who half those people are, except for maybe Kevin Hart.
Right. But I don't think Louis C.K. fans are going to go see an animated movie just because he's voicing it, though, either.
No. He was doing it for the paycheck.
Yeah. Good for him.
And you see where that put him now.
Well, that had nothing to do with the Secret Life of Pets.
No.
The Secret Life of Louis.
Yeah. That's coming soon to FX. The Secret Life of Louis.
Or Showtime or Cinemax.
No.
During the B-roll.
Please don't. All right, number 2 this weekend, Dark Phoenix, the X-Men final chapter, since New Mutants will probably never see the light of day.
It has a release date.
It also had a release date 3 different times before that, too.
It's been like 4 times.
Okay.
I did the math, and I'm pretty
It was
sure...
supposed to come out last, October.
No, so when
Last August, I think. Even.
when I saw the article that said that, the final of the X-Men saga, the first thing I was like, well, New Mutants, right? If you're talking X-Men proper, then yes, it's the end, whatever, right? This was supposed to come out in April of 18. And they got pushed...
Dark Phoenix or
for
New Mutants?
For New Mutants. Then it got pushed to the fall, then it got pushed to the spring, then it got pushed to the fall, and now pushed to the spring again. It's like, okay, so if it was supposed to come out in April of 18, That means they were probably filming, obviously, in 17. So by the time Maisie Williams watches herself on screen, she will literally be like from like 12 years old to what she is now.
Literally, that entire cast will all be adults by this time. By the time this
Yeah,
movie comes
because
out.
it also has Anya
Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, thank you. From Glass.
Yep, and the kid from Stranger Things. I don't remember.
Yeah, they're just gonna look at themselves and go,
We were so little back then.
Anyway, Dark Phoenix. Definitely underperforming at the box office. Only 33 million. Not even getting that number one spot. Definitely, I would say franchise fatigue.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. I think people are tired of X-Men, or at least this iteration of it. Especially when Marvel is so good at turning out
good movies.
well, consistent. It's consistent, movies.
Consistent movies, and they're always bringing in the box office every time.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if at least for this specific franchise, I don't necessarily want to say fatigue per se because it's been stretched out amongst a few years for the four.
A few years since the year 2000.
Almost 2 decades. Yeah.
No,
It's the same franchise.
I'm talking the new Class stuff though, because
Still, that's a decade. 2011.
yeah, but I don't know. Well, I mean, you're talking franchise fatigue. You look at the MCU, and that's 11 years, and that's 22 movies.
They also don't really have a bad movie in there. They don't have an X-Men Apocalypse. Okay, they do have bad movies.
Yes, they do.
But none... I would say all the MCU movies are better than X-Men Apocalypse, which was the last X-Men movie.
That didn't take
Do you
much.
think it's a lack of a Wolverine in the movies where people are kind of turned off?
For general audiences, I think so. I think that is a big drawing point for the X-Men movies is Wolverine.
Well, Hugh Jackman is the one that it's
He's synonymous with the role.
It's what basically has made him, and at the same time too, it's what's made the franchise.
Yeah. I think so.
A very good synergy there.
Number 3 this weekend, Aladdin, $24.5 million, third weekend out, making pretty decent money at the box office. Total domestic gross $232 million. I still have no interest in seeing this.
I have zero interest in seeing this.
Well, at least from what I'm hearing, I will be the advocate to say I haven't seen it either. But at least from everything that I'm seeing that's coming back from the fans and whatnot, is they are changing their tune and that it is better than they were expecting.
That still gives me no interest in seeing it.
Yeah, it's because you grew up on the original Aladdin, and
I
granted,
didn't like that one either.
Oh, boo! You're kicked off. Get out. No,
you're hired. Now you're fired.
Honestly, this is like when I looked at when Disney started making these live action remakes. I'm like, Aladdin's the one you have to do because that would be just great to do in live action. But
I agree.
everything is just I don't know. It's nothing fell in place for me.
And what's funny?
For me to be excited about it.
And what's probably as funny is that when you finally get around to actually watching it, you're gonna be like, "Shit, I should have watched this like a long time ago."
I actually
And on a big screen.
Yep.
I actually disagree. I think I'm gonna hate it no matter what. I'm so Disney,
I guess we'll have to find out, right?
Out of the Disney loop
Are you
right
going
now.
to watch it? That's the question.
Probably not.
Okay.
No, I have no interest in watching it.
Then don't give it shit. Then
I can give it shit.
No, you
because I
can't.
don't want to watch it.
I can't. I'm not gonna. I can't give a stance on a movie I've never seen before.
I can say I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
So how about number 4?
Number 4, Godzilla King of the Monsters, $15.5 million.
Check out that change.
Look at that. Let's see. Total gross domestically, $78.5 million, $170 million budget.
I'm talking about the 67% dive.
Yeah,
it
that's
just
not a
took.
good. That's
Is
not
this
a good.
is this officially a bomb in the U.S.?
I would say domestically, yes, it is.
Well,
Which is where I didn't put this in the notes, but Brian brought it up to me earlier that Kong versus Godzilla has been pushed back.
well, at least they're talking about that. It's not going to be quite on par. I mean, and they're already either filming or already in post.
They're in post. They're doing visual effects on it already.
So who knows what the exact stance is, unless it's probably going, okay, here's how we fucked up with Godzilla, so we need to do some more reshoots and rewrites, and who knows.
Get rid of the humans and just focus on Godzilla and King Kong.
Yeah, I have a buddy of mine that went to go see it, and he's like, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. And I made mention that other people I've talked to that they're like, bad characters, there was a lot, for the human element of what, and his response was, I enjoyed the movie. I didn't go to go see the human element. I went to go see monsters.
No, you're not going to this movie to watch Vera Farmiga give a great performance. No, you're going to watch Godzilla beat the shit out of other monsters.
Yeah.
It delivers on that.
He compared, and justifiably so, because I'm a nerd for the franchise and whatnot. But no, he did the whole comparison to, like, the Fast and Furious. You don't go watch the Fast and Furious to go watch an Oscar-winning movie. You go watch Fast and Furious because it's just fucking fun.
But damn it, they should be Oscar-winning movies.
Dom. Vin Diesel needs his Oscar.
Needs his Oscar. # Oscar for Vin.
Good luck on that one, boys.
Yeah. Number 5.
Go back and watch The Boiler Room. I'm just saying.
Number 5, Rocket Man, $14 million. $50 million domestically. I would say this is a hit for, I believe, Paramount is the one that released it.
Yes, it is. It says so right next to his name right there. That's what PAR stands for.
What is crazy? It's an R-rated movie, and they wanted to make it PG-13. I don't think the box office has been affected by that rating at all.
No, and I think you would have actually taken, if you would have made that PG-13, I think you would have taken away with what even Elton John himself has basically said, is that they told the story proper. Like, they didn't...
He didn't live a PG-13.
Do you think those
Exactly.
Do you think those are shots fired at the producers of Bohemian Rhapsody?
Absolutely.
I enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody for what it was.
But at the same time, too, they were trying to dial it back so you make a more wide audience, whatever. But then at the same time, you're glossing over the things of, Freddie Mercury and Queen and stuff like that. Where Elton John, at least he's alive. And he's like, nope, I did that shit. I'm going to own my shit,
Do you think Freddie Mercury would have said that if they had approved a movie, or if he had approved a movie about himself? Do you think he would have been okay with an R-rated version of himself?
I think he would have wanted an R-rated version.
Yeah, I think, I mean, especially considering how long he's been gone, I think he definitely would have been a very forward person, progressive, and be like... He
definitely didn't seem like he ever cared about what people thought of him.
Right. So I think he easily, and I think, between the producers and the remaining, Queen members, they're like, oh, we don't want any bad light on us kind of stuff, so we got to dial this back.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the box office for the weekend. Let's talk about Brian's favorite franchise in the first piece of news here. How do you feel about this, Brian? We got John Cena joining the cast of Fast and Furious 9.
Officially.
Because
we have talked about this already.
We have, and the rumors are that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson might not be in Fast 9 now.
Well, no, he's too busy doing Hobbs and Shaw. And between that and the
guy doesn't sleep, Brian. He can just go and shoot a movie in a weekend.
Well, no, there's that too. But I mean,
is he shooting a movie right now, or does he have stuff lined up that would conflict with this?
He's got so much shit lined up.
Well,
he's working on Jungle Cruise right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think he's working on Jungle Cruise.
Is that a sequel to?
No.
He just finished rapping on
did he really?
second Jumanji, and then he went to Jungle Cruise, and then whatever's after that he'll be going to.
Yeah.
This guy
I think he's gonna run for president. I think that's
what happened after Jungle Cruise.
I think so.
I'm okay
Johnson
with that.
2020.
I think so, not 2020, but maybe like 2024.
I'd vote for him.
I'd still vote for The Rock.
You heard it here first on Backlash 605. The Rock is running for president.
As long as he gives a people's elbow to Donald Trump, that's all we need.
So who's vice president?
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Obviously.
No.
It's probably going to be Mick Foley and the Rock and Sock connection.
Yes.
I like the way you think.
I'd vote for that.
Granted, except there's an age issue there, and you want to make sure that they make it through the entire tenure. But I was like, I would like to go see like The Rock with like, being progressive and be like, your vice president doesn't necessarily have to be a man kind of thing. Be like The Rock and Betty White.
Oprah has offered to be his VP, so I think it's an option for him.
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But no, I'm all.
We'll update you on the Rock's presidential run every episode on the back.
There you go.
Anyway, let's jump back to John Cena.
But John Cena, no, I'm a huge fan of John Cena's acting. And
have you ever seen him act?
Yes, I enjoyed Blockers. Was fantastic.
It's a joke, Brian, because you can't see John Cena.
Shut the oh my god. God. Every goddamn person that does that to me.
It's hilarious every single time.
It got me. I fell for it.
Oh my god, fuck you. Okay.
No, John Cena needs to be in this franchise because he's hilarious. He has improved tenfold as an actor since The Marine.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And
I think he fits perfectly.
And I think part of the reason why he's, other than having more opportunity to be in acting and honing his craft, but I think he's a lot more self-aware than when he did The Marine, to the point where he's like, yeah, you know what? I am gonna poke fun at myself. Never if you would have gone back 15 years, like when he did the Marine or however long it was,
He went to shove a beer bong up his ass.
That's exactly where I was going with the ass beer.
Yeah.
But no, I thoroughly.
Ass beer.
That's what he calls it. The ass beer.
That is. It's a great movie.
I remember my first ass beer.
Oh no, I'm all for this. I'm a huge fan of the franchise, and I think he's only going to add to it. It's not like they're giving me a character going, really? No.
No, I think that.
I mean, I even enjoyed Scott Eastwood as bad as
He's good in the series, I think. You know,
well, he's only been in one. Okay. I just mean as in like his.
I forgot he's in it.
His character almost seemed like.
I thought he was in 2 of the movies.
No, he's only been in Fate.
He's the.
I trust him, but I thought he came in the first Kurt Russell movie with him. Okay.
No. So that's just it. Where it's like with Fate the Furious, it almost seems like it was a. We don't want to replace Paul Walker, but we need a Paul Walker type of
an all-American boy.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why you bring in John Cena.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like now if they were to bring Scott Eastwood back, I would still be okay with that. But
I don't see why not either.
Well, yeah. I mean, since he kind of figured out he just throws shit aside kind of thing, I think his character will have been just that much more elevated. But no, I want to see John Cena come in and just wreak havoc.
And then I don't care, like, I'm alright if The Rock takes a break in Fast 9, but Fast 10, I need John Cena and The Rock to share a scene together.
Can we bring Jason Statham in too?
I guess, I want to see The Rock and John Cena because it's The Rock and John Cena. They need to have a scene together.
You're not wrong, but I mean, it's just, if there's one thing I'm looking forward to Hobbs and Shaw is that The Rock and Jason Statham have such a beautiful chemistry that I just need them to be in everything together now. Like, I just want to see Jason Statham pop up in Jumanji 2, and, if they're going to make a Transporter 7 or whatever the fuck, Statham's making, I just want to see The Rock pop up in that.
They do have a good chemistry together.
That they do. Let's move on to less exciting news here. Blumhouse is in the works on working on a Magic 8-Ball movie.
Yeah, this is your wheelhouse here.
Yeah.
Even though I'm the one that told you about this, and I'm like, what the
I feel like I've seen dumber plots to horror movies, so I'm okay with this.
Like Ouija?
Well, I haven't seen Ouija, honestly, but like Truth or Dare, which
they did Truth or Dare.
Was okay, I guess. But
really, I didn't. I watched the trailers. I'm like, God, this looks awful.
I don't know.
I wanted to laugh at it. I laughed.
I laughed at it.
Okay, so maybe that way it's a good movie.
Yeah, I think if they find a interesting way to portray this plot idea, it could be fun, but we'll see.
Maybe the makers or the people behind this, after they saw the beginning of Shazam, said, "Oh well, shit, we can put an 8-ball in the movie. Let's just make the whole movie about the 8-ball."
I do gotta say, Shazam is better than most horror movies that come out today too. Anyway, the Magic 8-Ball movie, it's all gonna depend on who they have as a director, honestly. The first Ouija is god awful. It's a terrible movie, and then you get to Ouija 2, or the prequel, I guess, and then they get Mike Flanagan to direct. I'm like, that's what it comes down to.
So they should get Mike Flanagan to direct the Magic 8-Ball movie.
Mike Flanagan. He's one of the best horror directors out there.
He is the best horror.
Just get John Carpenter.
That would be a weird movie. Yeah. A John Carpenter 8-Ball movie.
You'd have a killer score, I can tell you.
It definitely would have a good score.
He's already in the Blumhouse family right now working on Halloween scores, so I don't know. Bring in Mike. No, this is what our pitch is. Mike Flanagan direct.
John Carpenter does the score.
Does the score for the Magic 8-Ball movie. And
all right.
Tie it into Halloween.
And who's the girl from Happy Death Day? Is it Jessica Roth? Is that
yes.
Get her to be the star.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
I'd go watch that.
I'd watch that.
All right. You're welcome, Blumhouse. There's your movie.
Yeah.
We just did your casting for you.
Go
address
pitch.
letter.
Now you just have to go get this B-level cast for the rest of it.
Yeah, just get the rest of your cast from Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
Everyone else is good besides her.
Yeah, actually, work it into Happy Death Day somehow.
Oh, there you go. Even better. Happy Death Day
3, Magic 8-Ball.
Yeah.
I still need to see Happy Death Day to you.
No, you don't.
I haven't seen it.
No, you don't. All right, let's move on to our next piece of news here. We've got a new trailer for Ford versus Ferrari.
I've only seen that there was a trailer.
It's brand new. Anyway,
Okay.
What did you think of the trailer then, Brian?
I enjoyed it, actually. I actually just happened to watch it earlier today. I'm just scrolling around on my Apple TV, and I'm like, oh, hey, we're going to talk about that today. I should probably watch that. That picture right there, how they end the trailer with the guy's like, I can handle this, let's do this, and he starts crying at the end. That was no.
No, it's a good mix of comedy at the end of this.
It
Pretty
definitely looks like it's gonna be a crowd pleaser. Like,
Yeah.
You got like a lot of car buffs in the country who will go see it. A lot of people love Matt Damon. A lot of people love Christian Bale.
Matt Damon.
And then I think, is it James Mangold is the director?
He's directing.
I mean, he's made some big movies, so
Killer.
I have a feeling it's gonna play big to the Clint Eastwood crowd or something.
And I definitely think it really shows. Well, number one, it almost seems like between Christian Bale and Matt Damon, it just seems like they have just good chemistry with everybody. But just this little bit that you see with them interacting together, and just in the trailer alone, it just seems like a very good contrast between the two.
Yeah,
they're both very good actors. I think that's the biggest thing first and foremost. Christian Bale's one of those actors. I'm like, no matter what he's in, I'll go watch.
Like Terminator Salvation.
I didn't watch him in the theater because I wasn't going to movies then. But yes, I've seen Terminator Salvation. No, he's literally probably the only actor I will go watch just because he's in it. I think he's just one of the best actors working today.
And one who will put his body through hell and back.
Yes, I'm surprised he didn't try to convince them to turn into a car for this movie.
No,
actually,
you don't.
He might have tried.
You don't understand. I need to be the Ford.
Be the Ford. No, I enjoyed this trailer. I will definitely be checking it out. I think Christian Bale and Matt Damon together can't really go wrong.
No, it looks great.
All right, next piece of news that Brian wanted to talk about. We got some cameos that will be happening in Toy Story 4.
Can't tell me that these aren't 4 good names to put in Toy Story if you're going to sunset this franchise. And
Are they going to finally sunset this franchise?
There is no way they're sunsetting this franchise.
That's what they say.
They
I know.
said that.
That's what they
I heard
said.
that after the second movie.
They said that the third one too. I know.
Betty White, Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, and Carol Burnett are all going to cameo in Toy Story 4.
And I'm okay with
That's
that.
the news.
Especially
Moving
Mel
on.
Brooks.
No, I think it'll be fun having Mel Brooks.
I think Mel Brooks and Carol Burnett are going to be the standouts of those 4. They both,
What? Not like Betty White?
I'm not a big fan of Betty White, so
Why not?
I don't like her.
You need to watch. You need to see Dirty Betty White.
Betty White is like bacon to me, just overexposed, and I'm so sick of hearing about.
Betty. I don't know. This is kind of non-news to me. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
I'm glad to see these 4 in the movie. Like, don't get me wrong, but I'll watch Mel Brooks.
Honestly, the bigger news for me is Keanu Reeves being in the movie. That's the one I'm really looking forward to. So.
And
he's in a lot of the promotional material for it.
Oh yeah, and I picture it being one of those things where Disney's like, okay, we know Feige wants Keanu really bad, so we need to figure out how we can get him into the Mouse House little here, so we can finally get him into the MCU, because he's already been approached for 2 different roles that he wasn't able to do for, and they're trying to get him, supposedly in the Eternals, which would be his 3rd role that he's been approached for the MCU. Because he was approached for Doctor Strange, and he was also approached for the Jude Law role of Captain Marvel. So Feige, from what I understand, wants him bad. So maybe it's Disney's way of going, well, you don't have to just film a few bit, just do your vocals, whatever, you'll be good, and go about his way.
Just put Keanu in everything.
Heck yeah.
No matter what it is.
Put Keanu in there with John Cena. And
he
The
should
Rock.
be in the Fast and Furious franchise. Yes, you should. Let's move on to a little Keanu Reeves news here. Bill and Ted 3. They're going to be dads.
They're already
I
dads.
thought that was kind of known when the script came out.
Well, between that and
But they have cast their daughters.
Oh, well.
Did you see this?
I did not see this.
I saw it. I don't know the names.
Keanu Reeves' daughter will be played by an actress by the name of Bridget Lundy Payne.
Who is from?
She was in the Matt Damon movie Downsizing.
Oh.
She has a Keanu Reeves sort of look to her.
Yeah.
And I'm a Keira Knightley almost too. That's
A little bit. The one I'm more excited about is Alex Winter, his daughter, Samara Weaving. She was in a few movies, including The Babysitter, mayhem and 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
She's the babysitter.
She is the babysitter, and she's really
You,
good.
you've piqued my curiosity.
She's really good in that movie.
I've not seen that yet. Was she the daughter in Three Billboards? Who is the catalyst of the entire?
No, she is the one dating the ex.
Oh,
on the date with the ex.
moron. The really ditzy.
Yeah. The
Okay,
blonde.
she's
Yeah.
good in that.
No,
movie.
she's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that she fits perfectly. That's the one I'm excited about.
I was like, if you actually watch Bogus Journey, you would know they have kids.
Who's directing this, by the way? I'm really curious.
Let's see who they have.
Dean Paris. Oh, okay. I know the name. I can't remember.
Oh, Red
He
2.
directed Galaxy Quest.
Oh, you have my money now.
So for the listeners,
And then he
at
did
home,
Fun and Dick and Jane.
for the listeners at home, it's Dean Parasot who has directed Galaxy Quest and
Red 2.
Red 2, amongst others.
Fun with Dick and Jane. Woof.
It wasn't a bad.
It was a bad movie. It's a bad movie.
I haven't seen it, but I will echo woof.
I think those are. I think they're good casting.
Yes,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's on point.
Yeah. I hope a lot of the story does go back to Bill and Ted, because it's who the movie's about.
Right.
But I see their daughter's playing a pretty big role in this.
I think so too, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're almost the focus of the movie.
I don't want that though. That's what scares me about
It's supposed to be Bill and Ted Face the Music, not Bill and
It
Ted's
could be
kids.
that their daughters have to do it for them.
Right.
I don't know. I'm nervous about it now. I like the casting. I like who they got, but I'm a little nervous where they could go with it.
My biggest hope for that movie is that they have a wealth of Rufus footage from the cutting room floor that they can put into the movie somehow and
Like a
and
hologram
Then,
or
yeah,
something
and then
like that.
give George Carlin's relatives some royalties or something because it wouldn't be a Bill and Ted without him. But hopefully they're able to pull it off somehow.
Or at least if they can't, because maybe they don't have the footage or something like
Yeah.
that, at least some sort of homage.
Something.
To-
They're
Or
gonna
audio or something.
they're
Just
gonna do
audio from
they're
it.
gonna do something with Rufus in this movie. I feel like
That'll be the one thing where I have to agree with you. They better.
they have to.
They have to.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next piece of news. The Candyman. Okay.
Boo this man.
Yeah, way to just shit on this movie before you even hear what I'm talking about.
I see the word toxic.
Let's go back to Toy Story 4 and shit on that. movie.
Yes, let's do it. Let's go back to the Fast and Furious and shit on all those. No, let's move on to the next piece of news. The Candyman reboot has been said that it will address toxic fandom in this one.
I saw the headline, didn't read the article.
What is the toxic fandom?
Right, I want to know what this toxic fandom is about.
Do you not know what you know what toxic fandom is, right?
Yeah, but I feel like
especially in like nerd culture.
I
Right,
mean,
it's
no. We understand the term.
Yes.
We want to know what is said toxic fandom in the respect of this news piece that you would like to talk about.
That is what they have not revealed. So instead of addressing like the first Candyman is kind of definitely about racism.
Okay.
Okay.
This is one, instead of focusing on that, Peele is going to focus on toxic fandom.
Oh, okay. I thought. Okay, I see what. Okay.
No, Candyman will not be a toxic fanboy trolling people on the internet.
No, see,
Okay, he might be.
the way I read that how you have this on here was that there's fans out there that are pissed off about how the reboot is coming about.
Oh, no.
Like for instance, like I absolutely hate the idea of Child's Play right now because it pisses me off because
Boo this man.
they change everything. So that's where I was thinking you were going with this.
No. This actual story in the Candyman reboot is about toxic fandom.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I like that. I think that's a good way to go. Jordan Peele, he likes to have a message.
What's interesting is I think you could still do racism these days.
Oh, easily.
But this is a good.
Have you seen Get Out?
I have not seen
I
Get
think
Out
that's
yet.
why. Really?
No, I've seen it a few times.
Okay, he tackles that perfectly.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
he's ready to tackle it.
Right, and I was gonna say it's probably nice that he's not going back to the well for this one. It's gonna be more of a modern day influence on the
Right.
storyline. So I'm excited for it. I think Candyman I keep thinking about that Candyman might be the best horror movie of the '90s. I think it has a decent shout.
Candyman and Scream, I think, are
And
one and two.
and Jacob's Ladder. Those three are the ones that I keep thinking about.
You know, and I'm actually legit surprised that it's taken this long for us to, get more Candyman. I mean, it's been how long?
I don't know. I've only seen the first one.
I think the third one was early 2000s.
Yeah.
I was saying, there's only been the 3, right?
I think
And
so.
the last one, I think the last 2 were straight to DVD.
I think the
At
second
least the third one
I think
was.
the second one.
I'd say at least the third one. I'm pretty sure the second one
Yeah,
was.
but I'm glad they have waited on this franchise. I'm glad they haven't touched it the way Rob Zombie touched Halloween or they did Nightmare on Elm Street. Wait for the right people behind the movie who actually care about the original source material but want to tell a different story.
Right.
I think that's what they're doing right here.
I think.
And look how many years it's going to be before the reboot. 92 to 2020.
28 years.
At that point, does anybody care?
With Jordan Peele's name behind it, they will.
The producer of
Also,
Get Out.
also, who's Candyman?
Well, according to IMDb, it still has Tony Todd listed as Candyman.
They might be just doing that as like a red herring of some sort.
Absolutely could be because
He has said he will be in the movie, though.
Tony Todd.
Tony
Yes.
Todd has said he will be in the movie.
Yeah, it's one of those things I almost can't imagine Candyman without being Tony Todd, but I understand the idea of a new generation getting their own version. But this gentleman here, I think, is perfect.
I mean, I don't know him from much other than just what I just saw here.
Right.
Oh my god, dumb fucking idiot.
Isn't he in?
He plays Manta in Aquaman.
That's what it was. I was thinking of a different actor.
Oh.
So I'm still okay with this though, because I
am too, even though I didn't care for the movie. But
no, but I mean for his character of Black Manta,
he wasn't bad in the movie.
No, that's just it. The things I have issues with Aquaman are not him.
Right.
No, I'm
That's very cool.
completely
I'm
okay with
excited
that.
about this casting and this whole reboot. Actually, I'm glad someone's addressing toxic fandom because somebody has to.
Oh,
No,
no
I
kidding.
think if with Jordan Peele behind it, at least producing, I think that's a good way to go about it.
Yeah.
He was in Us too.
All right, so let's move on to our last piece of news,
Yes.
which is a fun one. We get a new poster for Midsummer in the vein of Coachella.
That was great.
It's a great piece of marketing by A24.
Yes, it was.
I do have to agree, and I love the way that they've done some of the stuff to make it look like the band names and whatnot.
Yes.
I think my favorite band
Who's
name
headlining?
is Shitty Boyfriend.
Shitty
Yes.
Boyfriend. Are they headlining? Who's headlining Saturday night? Or is it? the same nights?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
It's not a weekend festival.
No,
Crazy.
it's
No.
Off-White Everything is a good band too.
But the part that's funny though is you look at that, you're like Shitty Boyfriend. I'm like, that could be a legit band name.
Did you see the 1 year Jimmy Kimmel went to Coachella and they went there and just made up band names and asked concert goers like, oh hey, are you excited to see Scuba Steve? And they're like, oh yeah, like totally, like I dig their stuff and all that. And they're just making up on the spot.
That's probably because 85% of the people that are talking to were as high as a fucking kite.
It's true.
No, I like that because the movie it's going to deal with a festival, and what better way to parody that? than Coachella.
It's very cool.
And I love the fact that the dates on the poster go back every 90 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
All the way to 1300s or something like that.
Yeah, 1389 was the first Midsummer.
Yes, I love that.
I actually think they even have video promos. I'm pretty sure they even shot stuff at Coachella this past year. Like when the festival was going on, they went and shot promo footage in the similar vein of this and put it online. So we'll have to do some research and find it, but I'm pretty sure I saw something.
That's pretty cool.
Where A24 released some sort of YouTube clip where it ties in with the movie.
They have a really good marketing department at A24. Let's move on to our main topic from Midsummer. I think we're all going to enjoy this movie when it comes out, definitely.
I don't know anything about it, but I'm excited to see it, based solely on the fact that Ari Aster directed it. So I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from it.
No, I mean, I haven't watched a trailer.
Oh,
yet.
you haven't watched
I haven't watched
the trailer?
I refuse to watch a trailer.
The trailers honestly don't give anything away. They're
No, not
good
really.
trailers.
I don't want. I'll watch them after.
Especially for 2 hours and 40-minute long movie.
20-minute movie.
2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's a long movie.
Yeah,
It is
a lot,
for a horror
for a horror
movie.
movie?
a lot of build up for dread.
That
I
is,
like that. Oh,
that is
God.
about an 40 to 60 minutes longer than most horror movies.
Hereditary just drains the life out of you while you're watching it.
Yeah.
And oh god, this is what.
No wonder he's trying to kill me. He's like, you need to watch Hereditary.
You do
It's
need to watch
It's so good.
because he's trying to kill me.
We talked off air before we started, and I geeked out and said I think it's the top 5 horror movie of the decade.
I would have to agree with that. So Brian.
So Brian, you need to see it.
I will get there.
All right, let's see if any movies within the last decade make our top zombie movies of all time.
I don't know if mine do. I don't know. I gotta look at mine.
So let's start off. Blake, you want? Your number five.
I'm going to preface again my list by saying that I think infected people, and zombie movies are the same thing. So I have movies on here that are technically maybe not zombies, but the idea is the same. So my number 5 is a movie by a couple of brothers called they're called the Ford Brothers, and the movie is called The Dead. The Dead is about this mercenary who is flying over Africa, and his plane crashes in the African desert, and he happens to land in the middle of a zombie outbreak. I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie.
I've never heard of this movie.
He said the last decade, so.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to look it up.
And so he lands in the middle of the zombie outbreak, and the movie isn't like, it's not gonna blow any doors off the hinges or anything.
Not with a 5.8 out of 10.
Yeah, it doesn't have a great score, but I think it's really good, and it's one of the only horror movies where I really felt like kind of terrified while watching it. Just the way that these guys shoot this movie, they really get the idea of an apocalypse happening, especially in Africa, which is kind of known as being like I don't want to say
an almost apocalyptic
right,
landscape.
Right. And so, even though this guy's a mercenary and technically a bad person, you really feel for him as he's lost alone in this wasteland, and the movie doesn't skimp on gore, which is good. Like, you don't want a PG-13 zombie movie. So this is a movie that isn't talked about a lot or enough, and I just wanted to get that out there that this is well worth your time.
Is this movie talked well enough to people to realize that there's a sequel to it?
I don't think so, because
did you know there was a sequel?
I did know.
Okay.
I did know. I have not seen it.
Because as I say, because the first thing when you see a sequel about a movie something like this that you've never heard about before, it's,
right.
A lot of times it's like the studio going,
right.
Let's try to turn them out. I'm like,
right.
Nope. And I say at least it's the same.
It's the same
guys.
filmmakers, yeah. So I don't know if they had like a trilogy planned or a vision of some sort, or if an international producer gave them more money to make a sequel. But I just don't hear people talking about this movie enough, and I think it's very good.
Interesting. I've never heard of the movie.
That's my number 5.
Me neither. I legit have never even heard of this.
Yeah, it's definitely going on my list. I gotta see where this movie's at right now, like where you can find it to watch.
I don't even know. I saw it when it came out.
Go to Just Watch. JustWatch.com.
JustWatchTheDead.com.
Or JustWatch.com/US.
It's available on. It is right now. It is available on Tubi TV and available on rent at Amazon.
Dun dun dun.
Nice. It's well worth the $3 or $4 you got to pay for it.
And Tubi TV is free.
There you go.
I use Tubi TV a lot.
You're welcome, Casey.
Thank you. I will put The Dead on my watch list for sure on that. So that is Blake's number 5, The Dead.
The Dead.
Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah.
Or you want me to go next?
I'm looking forward to the non-horror guy putting on his zombie movies.
Say what, Zach?
I'm looking forward to the non-horror guy putting on his zombie movies.
It's not... Well, okay, rephrase. It's not that I'm a non-horror. I enjoy my horror movies. I may just not enjoy them as much as you demented animals are.
I will take that as a compliment.
Demented animal. I like that.
I mean, come on. Again, my first date movie with my wife was Hostel.
Nice.
So
I feel like if that's that's a good first movie to go to. You'll find out where you sit with somebody. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hostel?
Yes.
Yeah, Hostel. So anyway, I'm gonna go with something relatively new, a little bit, independent, if you will. I thought it was great. I went with Anna and the Apocalypse.
I haven't watched this one yet.
I have
I've
not
heard
seen
awesome stuff about it.
Because
Brian, what's Anna and the Apocalypse about?
So Anna and the Apocalypse is essentially
I know it's a musical.
Well,
I know
yeah.
that.
So picture a teen romantic comedy, a teen British romantic comedy musical zombie film, all rolled into one. All rolled into one singular thing.
Interesting.
And it's one of those things that I enjoy. I enjoy musicals. I enjoy a good zombie movie, whatever, and I'm like, hey, oh, and it's a Christmas movie on top of it too.
Oh, very cool.
So it's a Christmas movie.
Very cool. Is it British? It's British, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it was based off the short story of this guy that was trying to make it, who ended up passing away from cancer or whatever. So his friends helped make sure everything got finished up and they made or whatever, And just because it is it is something that is completely different. Like, there is nothing on this planet that I can know off the top of my head that is anything remotely like it. Now, again, is it going to be your top of the line class, movie? No, but it's just a good, fun watch. I mean, it has literally damn near every genre known in it. There is a zombie dressed up as, he was, before he died, he was he was dressed up as a snowman. So all you see is just this snowman walking zombie looking thing, blood all over, trying to grab at him. They bash him with a baseball bat. And he just have this head sitting there, whatnot. No, it's something that is completely different. And again, I enjoyed it. And it, from most people that I've heard who have seen it have, again, also enjoyed it.
No, ever since I first heard about this movie, I wanted to watch it. And I don't think it ever played in Sioux Falls.
No.
Did not, no.
And yeah, it's something I need to just sit down and finally watch.
There's a podcast I listen to. It's horror-centric, and all 4 of those hosts went ballistic over this movie.
In a good way?
Yes, in a good way.
And it's one of those things where I would enjoy watching this during the holidays.
Yeah.
Because it's Christmas themed.
Very cool.
It probably has one of the dirtiest Santa songs ever in it.
Interesting.
So I mean, it's like, this is something you can watch during Halloween because it's zombies.
You could watch it from October through December, basically.
Or, because there's the love interest thing part of it. You can watch it during Valentine's Day, whatever.
Very cool.
No, I think that's. I need to watch this movie. I'm a sucker for musicals.
I don't like musicals personally, but I might give it a try.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for musicals and I love horror movies. So that's the combination of both
Agreed.
Usually just works for
You
me
have
every
no
single
excuses,
time.
basically.
Yeah,
No excuses.
For being a musical fan, I'm surprised you haven't seen it yet.
I know. It pains me that
It was worth the dollars I paid on iTunes for it.
Nice.
I will have to steal your iTunes, I think.
Oh, you think so, huh?
That's what I think.
There's only like 500 movies on there.
All right, let's move on to my number 5. My number 5 is going to be somewhat controversial. It is the original Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff.
Go ahead and explain.
Yes. How is that a zombie film?
Because the Dr. Frankenstein, it is a zombie movie. Frankenstein is the original zombie, in my opinion. You're taking dead body parts and reanimating them to life. It's pretty much what a zombie is.
I'm going to allow it.
You'll allow it? Thank you.
God. When you put it in context like that, fuck you.
Okay, I'm going to put it in... Okay, because there is another movie that I have on my honorable mentions, and it's Reanimator.
Oh.
I would say is a zombie movie, too. You're doing pretty much the exact same thing.
If that didn't make your top 5, I'm curious to see what else made your list.
Is it going to show up on yours? Guys, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Frankenstein is my number 5. Just the original classic, black and white, Universal monster movie.
I've never seen this movie before. And as a horror fan, I'm surprised I have not seen this yet.
Everything iconic about it it still works to this day. The monster himself is just... He's terrifying when you first see him, and then you get to... I can spoil this movie because it's fucking almost 100 years old. The part with the little girl and the flowers by the river. It's just fucking heartbreaking still. Yeah. Like, it is painful to watch because, you obviously know what happens after he tosses the little girl and wants to see if she floats.
Right.
She doesn't. And then the scene, there is an awesome scene with the dad carrying her body through the streets. And it's something I can't believe was in a movie in 1931.
Because back in the 30s, there's a lot of shit they can get away with because there was a lot of regulation that didn't exist back then either, though, too.
No, there's also a lot of things you couldn't get away with in movies back then. Yeah. It's a weird time for movies back in the early Hollywood days. But yeah, Frankenstein, it's a classic, and I still think it holds up to this day. And yes, it is a zombie movie.
Wow. This is a left field for me. I didn't expect this at all.
Yeah. The rest are pretty traditional on my list. This is my only.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with
I'm a very specific in what a definition of a zombie film is.
Yeah.
So, like, this for me personally is not a zombie film. I get where you're going with it.
In the traditional route, no, it is not a zombie movie.
I'm with Brian on this, but it's your list.
I get the logic.
I do too.
I get the logic,
that's
at the same time too, where like my definition of a zombie film, it negates the idea of the virus,
right?
So, again, it's all left to interpretation. I get what
Right,
you're going with
right.
it. Me, not zombie. But, again, like Blake said, your list, not mine.
I wanted to bring it up because we haven't brought up any Universal monsters yet
Yes, we have.
on our podcast.
Yes, we have.
Okay, Invisible Man,
The Mummy.
The Mummy. Though I never actually got to talk about the original movie. I needed to talk about one of these original.
You're talking about
monster
having not seen this since. If I knew where some of my DVDs were at right now, the different boxes that I've got right now, I'd find my copy of Van Helsing, the old Hugh Jackman Van Helsing that came out, because the deluxe edition that I came
Has this version on it?
has the original Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman.
Oh.
Did you watch those?
No,
And you watched Van Helsing how many times?
maybe twice.
Yeah, and you owned it.
I'm a big advocate of going, hey, I bought that.
You owned Van Helsing. I'm sorry.
My Universal monster was the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I grew up. My dad watched that so many times, and that's my jam.
All right, so that was my number 5, Frankenstein, 1931.
Very good pick.
It's not going to make our top 5.
No,
We don't know that, do we?
It won't.
Okay.
I won't vote for it.
All right, Blake's number 4.
All right, number 4 is gonna fall into the infected. I'm sorry, Brian. Brian gave me an ugly look there. It's actually 2 movies, but they're sequel. One's a sequel to the first one. They're movies from Spain. Man, I think I think the first movie in this series is absolutely terrifying. It's called Record or Wreck.
Oh, yes.
And then Rec 2 is going to be the other one that I'm going to pair with this. Rec is about this news reporter who goes to she goes to do a story on like the Midnight Boys at a firehouse who, she wants to get a sample of the life of the firefighters who work overnights. And they get a call to an apartment building in the middle of Madrid. And it turns out that there's some infected people there in this building, and they get trapped inside, and it turns out to be this huge conspiracy, and they have to fight their way out to survive. And like I said earlier, this movie is absolutely terrifying. Some of the best scares you'll ever see are in this movie. And the reason why I chose Rec 2 and not like Rec 3 and Rec 4 was because Rec 2 is a sequel, but it's an alternate view of the same events with different characters. It takes place at the exact same time, and it follows a different route of the same building.
Events.
Yes, same events. And it's not as scary, but it has some really good scares in it, like some very, very good jump scares. So if you have not seen these, I highly, highly recommend it. If you've seen Quarantine, the American remake, it's fine, whatever, but Record knocks it out of the park, in my opinion.
I guess I never even realized that Quarantine was a remake
Yeah,
of Wreck.
yeah, it is. Huh. It's fine. Quarantine's fine, but the original, it's got the cojones, so.
Well, again, that kind of falls also into, something that's made overseas where they've got different rules for what you can and can't do.
The whole thing is done through handheld cameras because it's like a news report.
Yeah.
It's a found footage movie, right?
I guess you could say it's a found footage movie.
And I'm a sucker for found footage movies, but I have not watched Wreck.
Like Cloverfield?
I love Cloverfield.
Highly recommend this movie.
I tell you what, I will have to sidestep and just say the first time I saw Cloverfield, I got to the end of it and I was like, all right, I just need to breathe. And you get a little bit of that motion sickness because of how jittery. Like, I don't mind found footage. Like, obviously Blair Witch defined found footage, but I tell you what, oh my god, it was so jittery afterwards.
And the nice thing about Rec is I think it's only like 115 minutes long or something.
Hour 18.
Yeah,
so it's not.
It goes by real quickly. Like they spend 15 minutes setting up everything, and then from there it's a roller coaster ride through this apartment building, and it does not let up at all.
This has been on my watch list for a while.
It's really good, and I think the sequel is as good. Just it suffers because it's not as scary as the first one.
No, I think that's a good pick. I need to watch it. Definitely.
Dun dun dun.
Brian, you're number 4.
My number 4. My number 4 is actually a George Romero remake.
Whoa.
Oh, fighting words, Brian.
Well,
Wait, did he remake it?
no.
Oh.
But take it or leave it, whether it be the original or the remake.
I think I know where this is going.
Where?
I definitely know.
I will
definitely know where it's going.
I'll let you say it, and then I'll type them around or not.
Does it involve a certain Man of Steel director?
No.
Oh. All right. What is it then?
Yeah.
The Crazies.
Oh!
All right.
Oh!
Not the Romero remake I was thinking of.
Brian, go ahead,
All right.
Brian. I want to hear.
Well, actually, I had never even seen the original, but I'm a big fan of Timothy Olyphant. So, when the remake came out and whatnot, it piqued my curiosity. I really loved the trailer for it. I think it has a very interesting social aspect of it in terms of like how if something, even if it was just a virus, it's something that could be cured, like some of these movies are, right? In regards to how would the government react? Oh, they're going over here to be quarantined so they can be saved, and then they go and they find the the part where they put them all in and realize they just lit them all on fire and killed them all. They're like, oh well, there's no saving for them here, so we're just gonna nuke this little country town kind of thing. I just overall, again, Timothy Olyphant is great in everything that he does.
So what's it about technically? Like, it's like an outbreak in this...
Yeah, there's an outbreak, little small town, whatever the case is.
Iowa.
I was just gonna say, I think this is shot in Iowa.
Yeah. So
we have this and Field of Dreams. That's all we got. And Children of the Corn has too.
yeah, Children of the Corn. There you go. Yeah. So I'm pretty much outbreak happens, whatever the case is. Military comes in. They're trying to quarantine, or at least they say that they're trying to quarantine whatnot, and to the point where they do leave it. I guess I don't know per se for how George ended his, but they do end the movie is in the idea of that they would have come out with a sequel to The Crazies. That they didn't really kill off whatever it was that was creating the zombies. But yeah, it's a very much of putting kind of the pin towards like what would the government do if something like this were to happen. They're not about to save the people. They're about to eliminate the threat.
This is definitely one of the virus zombie movies.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. There are some great.
Have you seen
great car wash?
There are some great set pieces in this movie.
Have you seen the Romero version?
Yes, I have.
How would you compare it to? Because like I said, I haven't seen the Romero version.
So have you?
I don't remember I think I've watched the Romero one. I don't remember anything about
the Romero version's fine. Like it's good, but it is definitely
It doesn't age well.
No, it's a movie of its time. It's hard to explain without ruining my number one pick, but it's very.
Let me guess. Your number one pick is a Romero.
It's like a
Survival of the Dead.
Yeah, you got me. The original Crazies is like it's like a hippie version of a zombie movie.
Yeah.
It's very. Have you seen it, Casey?
Three years
There's
ago.
parts where like there's like this really like freewheeling music and like good vibes while they're going from house to house killing people, and it maybe that was the point of Romero was trying to get across was like at the time the government was fine having fun killing people, but this is it's a modern day studio horror movie. Like it's there's nothing else to it. It's just really well done. Mm-hmm. Like there's so many great scenes in it that like I was like, this guy is biting the dust. Like there's no way he's getting out of this, and somehow he gets through it, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
I remember not loving this the first time I watched it.
I've enjoyed it ever since I saw it.
I've seen it a few times.
It's been 3-4 years. I watched this and then the Romero version pretty close together. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. There is a great car wash scene.
Yeah. And I think, isn't there something like a baseball scene, a baseball diamond or something that's really good too?
Oh, the one that stands out to me is the car wash.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's
I think there is a baseball scene.
Yeah.
My brain, anytime I think baseball when it comes to horror movies, my brain immediately goes to Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I'm trying. That's what the scene that's going through.
Yeah.
Maximum Overdrive.
I just picture the freaking steamroller.
So I recommend that. That's a good choice, Brian.
I'm gonna have to rewatch this one. All right, my number 4 is Return of the Living Dead. I'm assuming it's
the original.
The original Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think there's a remake to that.
I'm sorry. I was thinking Night of the Living Dead for some reason.
No, not yet.
Okay.
This might be like one of the 2 or 3 Romero movies that have not been remade.
Right. This isn't a Romero movie.
No, this is not a Romero movie. Dan O'Bannon movie, who worked on the original Night of the Living Dead, and God, this is one of the most fun horror movies you can ever watch.
I'm looking at that picture going, what the fuck?
You never seen this, Brian?
The Tar Man is one of the best zombies ever.
So for the audience, we'll explain what happens in this movie, or at least a synopsis.
Basically, this is set in a universe where Night of the Living Dead is actually a movie that they have seen. And basically, it's set with a group of rebel teenagers.
Punks.
Yeah, punks hanging out in a graveyard. And then there's another set of a couple guys working in the mortuary. And they're kind of idiots. Definitely. And basically, what happens is, if I'm remembering correctly, there's a rainstorm and it's mixed with toxic chemicals, and then the dead rise again.
Yes.
And it is utterly fucking bonkers, for one. And it is literally the most fun you can ever have watching a horror movie.
This might be like a top 5 party movie.
It is a great party movie.
It
could have.
If you're
It
stoned.
only could have came out in 1985.
Yeah, this is definitely a product of the 80s.
You know, there's much better things that came out in 85 than that.
Oh, not much.
You're lying to yourself.
Back to the Future, fuck off.
No, this is better than Back to the Future. I said it right here.
No, I can't agree with that. But this is...
Does Back to the Future have Linnea Quigley dancing topless in a
She
cemetery?
is fully nude, my
Yes.
friend.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Pervert.
Brian, this is a great movie. Like, oh man, like when someone yells brains at you and you finally see this movie, you'll know where it comes from. I mean, you have zombies who are begging for brains, literally, and
All they want is brains.
yes. And what's great is they reference Night of the Living Dead about
Multiple
like,
times.
have you not seen Night of the Living Dead? Like, these are the dead, they rise. And I can't think of the old man's name who runs the mortuary or the morgue, but he's been in a lot of movies and he's really good in it. And like you said, Linnea Quigley in one of her more famous roles as well.
Yep. Tom Matthews, who was in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6. Or not Friday the 13th Part 6.
Oh.
Tommy Jarvis.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Jarvis.
That's why he looks so familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen Return of the Living Dead too. It takes many of the same cast members. And
It's fine.
it's fine.
It's fine.
But I think this is the standout in that franchise.
For me, it's one of the best horror movies of the 80s.
Oh, it's so good. The practical effects in this movie are ridiculous.
Yes. Like you said, the Tar Man is...
Might be the most iconic zombie ever.
No. I don't think so.
Besides Frankenstein.
No, Bub.
We've already set that up.
Bub.
Bub? I don't know. I like Tar Man.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
No, that's my number 4. It is literally the most fun you can have watching a horror movie.
I think we have an entry under our top 5 backlot, maybe.
Return of the Living Dead?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
If you haven't watched this movie, definitely check it out. Yeah. And
highly recommended.
It's different than any other zombie movie because you gotta literally just destroy everything about it. You can't just kill the brain or chop off a body part.
Yep.
You gotta literally just destroy it from
Yep.
the ground up. So that's my number pick. Return of the Living Dead.
Brains.
All right, Blake, you're number 3.
My number 3 is a Canadian movie.
Yoga hosers?
Ooh,
They make movies in Canada?
They make movies up there, yes.
When it's not snowing.
Or they're playing hockey.
My number 3 is a movie called Pontypool. It's not a zombie movie per se. It's another movie where it's people who are infected.
How do you even spell that?
Quit cheating.
my entire list I cheated on, but Pontypool is interesting because it's basically it's an 80 or 90-minute movie and it's all in one location, and it uses the real enemy of the movie are words, and I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, and I'm going to be really bad at explaining it, but. Pontypool is about this DJ up in Canada. He was a shock jock, and he kind of said some stuff, and he got relegated to the small town called Pontypool, and he does a radio show there in the morning, and there is a virus outbreak, and it turns out that words and the patterns that they are used in are driving people crazy, and so obviously someone who's on the radio could be involved with that. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but the entire movie takes place in this small church where this radio station is set up, and it features for me like one of Stephen McHatty's best performances. I think he's a tremendous character actor, and here he's given the role of his lifetime. If you've seen the movie Death Valley, he plays a a big role in that movie. But just the way this movie goes about setting in the fear of an outbreak or a natural disaster, and you're isolated, and you don't know how to react because you don't know what's real and what's not real, and who's on your side and who's against you. Like, this movie really gets the idea of paranoia, and it seeps into you. And another movie that I don't hear people talking about enough, and I really wanted to spotlight it because I think it's a fantastic movie.
It almost reminds me of what reactions were like for Orson Welles' War of the Worlds.
Have you seen the movie?
This one?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Oh,
but it seems like that's kind of the interpretation they're going for.
I'd have to watch it again, and I'm not gonna lie. There's part of me that still doesn't even understand the idea that the filmmakers are trying to put across of what these words are doing, because at one point they figure out how to get past it. Because basically, you can just start talking to somebody, and they will go crazy based on
what words you're saying
or what patterns you're using. And I'll be honest, I don't even really know exactly how they figure it out, but it's very interesting how people start communicating with each other in the movie. And I love Pontypool so much.
I was waiting for you to go to the respect of how they figure out how to defeat the aliens and Mars attacks.
No, nothing like that.
We know how to defeat the zombies. We're gonna play this corny ass song.
No, it's definitely. I saw this on an episode we will eventually do, which is our best horror movies of all time. This was on your top 20.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I already forgot what I put on it, but yeah.
I had never heard of it until I saw it on your list.
Yeah.
But immediately, I'm like, that's going on the list to watch.
I love Pontypool so much.
Well, by the looks of it, it's going to be a pain in the ass for you because you either only rent or buy on Apple.
On Apple, yeah. It looks like a hard movie to find.
It's well worth your time.
It looks for $3.99. You can rent it.
All right. Brian, you're number 3.
My number three, as you gave me shit earlier, Dawn of the Dead.
Which one?
The Zack Snyder one?
Yes. And I think I might have actually figured out why that one was actually, good compared to some of the other Zack Snyder stuff as of recent.
Because it's based on a good property. Well, I guess Man of Steel is a good property. But
It's based on a good property, and he didn't write it.
Oh.
James Gunn wrote it. James Gunn wrote the screenplay for the remake of Dawn of the Dead. And being you got James Gunn, who is a fan and appreciative of the genre, and I assume a very fan and appreciative of George Romero, it seems to make a little bit more sense. Like, you see some of the stuff. And I will give Zack Snyder shit every day for about his DC stuff and whatnot, but other than Sucker Punch, like his doing other people's property has typically done very well. Like, I enjoyed his remake of Dawn Dead. I enjoyed 300. I enjoyed The Watchmen. It's only when he got into the DC stuff that he started tanking. But no, the whole, bring it back to the mall, and up until when his Dawn of the Dead came out, it was a lot of the movies that were coming out zombie related were still about the slow, stupid zombies and whatnot. This is the first time you literally had like a zombie sprinting at you to come eat your brains out kind of thing. For me, it was completely different. It made me want to go back and watch the original, which, as much as it's the 70s when the original came out, it felt a little corny-ish to me.
We'll talk about the original.
Stop giving away your own shit.
I'm just hinting at it.
But, I don't know. This probably was my introduction to George Romero, because I really hadn't seen much of anything of his in the past. But like when he came out with what's his recent ones, the Survival of the Dead Land of the Dead. Like, Land of the Dead should be an honorable mention just for the sake of having Simon Pegg and Nick Frost as their characters from Shaun of the Dead as zombies in Land of the Dead. But, sorry, I digress.
It's alright.
I'm letting you talk about it. I haven't watched this remake yet.
You haven't seen it yet?
No.
It's really good.
I've heard
it's really good.
I've just been hesitant to watch it.
just for one single use of a cover song is worth watching this movie down to the credits.
Is it the Disturbed cover?
Yes, it is Richard Chee's cover of Disturbed's "Down with the Sickness."
Richard Cheese is awesome. You had me at that.
It's a really good scene. It's a really
Yes.
good
All
scene.
right, that makes me want to watch it a little more.
This
Not
movie, like, I'm not in love with it, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, and
Better than most horror remakes.
Well,
Yes,
and
yes.
I'll even go with, well, for one, it's escaping me how I knew her prior to that, but I enjoy Sarah Pauli in
Sarah
it.
Pauli's great in it. Her opening scene too is really good.
Agreed. And then also, this was my first introduction to Ty Burrell.
Mine too.
And like I watch him. I don't watch Modern Family religiously. It's only if it happens to be on or whatever. And you realize he's super funny, and I'm like, that was the asshole.
Yep.
And it just kind of shows the kind of range that he has.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The ending,
Sarah Pauli is amazing in this movie.
Yeah, she's good, and Ving Rhames is good in it.
Yes.
And then the end where they find. I don't know for Casey.
Oh, when they get to the boat?
Well, the ending where they decide to do something about their situation and how they go about it is really cool.
Yes.
And it doesn't skip.
Oh,
on
you
the
mean
gore.
when they're leaving the mall?
Yes.
Yes.
But it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah. It's got a really good Johnny Cash song at the opening of the movie. And,
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't skip on the gore. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a zombie baby before or since this movie.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot Mekhi Phifer's in it too.
But I'm not a big Zack Snyder fan. I think most of this stuff is not very good. But this is a highlight for me,
Yes.
for him. Like, this is.
And now that I realize that it's James Gunn's screenplay,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I think that probably adds a lot to it because he's going to write it like he knows it should probably be written. Like,
Well-
if we would have found that it was Zack Snyder written, I don't think you would have had the same movie.
You wouldn't have had. Yeah, it wouldn't have been very good. I'm surprised. Is this one of his first movies? Is this his first movie?
Who?
Zack Snyder.
It's one of, if not his first movie.
It's this or 300. I feel like his first movies. I can't
This came
remember.
before 300.
Is it his,
This is his first directorial.
so thinking back to this movie, it doesn't have all of his like slow motion,
Everything he developed in
masturbatory
300.
scenes. Yeah. And I think that's why I like it so much. Is he doesn't indulge in this movie. He does, but not to like. I have some friends who are like, I'm not going to go see that Zack Snyder movie because I know there's going to be some stupid slow motion shot that is him jerking off. And
There actually isn't that much besides 300.
300 and there's another one too. I thought Sucker Punch. The entire thing is in slow
I've
motion.
never watched Sucker Punch. I heard it's terrible.
Do not.
The only
watch
thing
it.
Sucker Punch has going for it is it has an amazing soundtrack, and that's about it.
Don't watch it. It's bad.
I already think watch
But
it.
this is, and I don't know what the budget of this movie is, but I think his budget was smaller on this, and I think it worked out for him, because I think it's a very well made movie.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And Tom Savini cameos in it.
Yes, he does.
Nothing wrong with the Tom Savini
No.
cameo.
No,
No, I actually enjoy his cameo in it.
All right, let's move on to my number 3. Another Romero movie. I think
Oh,
we'll have a few Romero movies.
Did he make a couple of zombie
I think he
movies?
made a few zombie.
I think he may have. I don't know what sort. Oh yeah, he created the
he might
genre.
have created the modern day zombie.
Yeah, mine is his original Night of the Living Dead.
Interesting.
Does anyone have it higher? Because then I want to wait to talk about it.
It's not on my
Not on
list.
my
at all.
list.
Whoa! Really? All right. I'm confused as what will be higher on your guys.
I will. You talk about
Just
Night of the Living Dead.
Why I like it? Because it's
Maybe instead of maybe by the time we get done, it won't be the top 5 for the backlot. It'll be the top 15 because it'll just be all of them.
yeah, we have none that
We have
so
nothing that
far.
overlaps.
I'm surprised we don't have. I think we're gonna have one that matches.
All right, we'll see. Anyway, mine is my number 3, Night of the Living Dead, the one that started it all. There is just so much that this movie is about, and everything that it is set up for since then. Just that original concept of one being having an African American character as your lead, and not even mentioning that he's an African American.
Almost unheard of at the time.
Yeah, it is, and literally, I love the story that Romero tells about casting him as he was the best guy for the job.
Yeah, he didn't care about anything
No,
else.
he's like, he's the best guy for the job, so
Yeah.
he cast him. But then that ending, once you get to the ending, and I don't want to spoil it if people out there haven't seen Night of the Living
Dude,
Dead.
how old is this movie?
1968.
Yeah, there's some movies I haven't seen.
I would guarantee there's people who have not
No,
seen
no,
it.
no, no, no. I'm not saying that part. I'm saying about the spoiling the ending.
Yeah, I would.
If we are past the Endgame embargo, you can talk about.
We can't talk about Endgame just for the record.
How many millions of people have watched? Millions more people have watched Avengers Endgame than have watched Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Many.
Well, I'm not arguing that.
I'm not going to spoil it.
Let's not talk about the ending. It's a really good ending.
No, and it has one of my favorite lines in any horror movie right at the beginning. They're coming to get you, Barbara. I think that is a perfect line delivery, and I love it.
I have only seen this movie one time.
Really?
I think it's only once I've seen it too.
I thought it was fine, but I also saw it at a point in my life where I was like a budgeting, blossoming film fanatic.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't look at movies a certain way, and now I need to go back, especially now that Criterion has like a 4K restoration or a 2K restoration. I need to go back and watch it. And
I can't give myself up to give $40. To
No,
it.
yeah, I should just get that Filmstruck or whatever the heck they have, the Criterion channel. But I respect this film's place in history, and I think it's a very good movie. I need to rewatch it for sure.
I am definitely a sucker for black and white movies. Period. As far as horror goes, I think it just adds to the ambience of movies.
I was like, so that's Clerks.
Also, don't they kill kids in this movie? Don't kids die?
A kid is a zombie in
Like,
this movie, and
like-
she brutally murders her mom.
That's almost you almost can't do that to this day.
No, you can't. How many killer kids have you had besides ones that are like possessed or?
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
It's almost
Rick Grimes killed one in the first episode of The Walking Dead.
That is not in 1968 though. Like that is unheard of. That is scary. A little girl killing her mom.
I have big issues with a lot of movies where they use kids or animals as like a device to manipulate you. And I understand that films are supposed to manipulate you, but like it's cheap when they do that. Like they put a kid in harm's way, and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen to this kid? And then the kid survives, and you're like, oh, okay, I knew that was gonna happen. Like Romero don't mess around. Like he kills kids in this movie, and I respect, as morbid as that sounds, I respect.
You just remind me of the beginning of A Quiet Place.
I guess they do that in a quiet.
They don't show it though. They don't show it.
No. But I mean, the same point where like just the lead up to it, you're like,
right?
Oh, that kid's toast.
Oh, I didn't think that, but
well, you look at it and go, but no, you look at it, you're like, oh, the kid's toast. But at the same time, too, you look at it and go, they're not gonna do that.
Right.
They're not.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Gonna kill the kid.
That's what I'm saying.
And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, they went there.
Yeah. Spoilers for A Quiet Place.
Spoilers for the first 5 minutes of the movie. No, Night of the Living Dead. I think it is one of the greatest horror movies ever made, and definitely needs to be on any zombie movie list.
Ooh.
Period.
Okay.
That's my statement, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
It's not the best of Romero's zombie movies either. We'll talk about it.
It's just your point is it's not necessarily the best, but it is an essential watch.
It is definitely an essential watch.
It's an essential.
I have watched this on. I have a DVD with just. It's in the public domain right now. For one.
Have you seen the remake?
Which one?
The one that Tom Savini directed?
I don't. There's so many of them. I don't know if I watched that one.
Came out I think Tony Todd is the main star of the movie, or
I haven't watched that one. Then
I can't remember who the main actor is.
it might be that.
It's not very good.
When did that
None
come?
of the remakes of Night of the Living Dead are good.
Nah.
1990 maybe?
Yes, that's the year.
You can watch it on Crackle.
Oh.
Yeah. I would watch it just for seeing. Tom
Just to
Savini
see what it's like.
direct.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to Blake's.
So I've been doing some reflecting on my list, and I feel really bad because this is a zombie list, and I realized that 3 of my 5 picks are infected movies, but I guess we're still going to count it. But so mine isn't a true zombie list, but my number 2 is actually 2 movies again. I'm sorry, I'm cheating.
Cheater.
I'm so sorry, but I think both these movies are very good. And it's the first movie is by Danny Boyle, and it's called 28 Days Later. I remember.
I knew you were going here.
I remember seeing the preview for this in a movie theater, and they were saying something like the trailer said something like the movie that scared Europe is not coming across the pond or whatever, and I was like, oh, I'm so into this. And I remember seeing it in theaters and just like being absolutely it scared the hell out of me.
I think probably one of the best aspects of that movie was watching Brendan Gleeson go insane.
Yeah. So a brief synopsis if you have not somehow seen this movie. Cillian Murphy plays this man who wakes up in a hospital, and it's utterly destroyed. He's in London, and there's no one. It's just him, and he has no idea what's happened. And it turns out that a virus broke out of the lab and has basically turned everyone into I guess zombies, stark raving crazy people. And I think why the movie succeeds so much is Danny Boyle shot the movie on DV grade cameras, but he had like a professional sound design where so the sound is amped up, but the quality of the video is really like low, so you're kind of expecting
it makes you almost feel sick watching.
Yeah. And man, the movie just goes from strength to strength, and there's so many great scares in this movie, and the soundtrack by I think it's John Bryan did the score is so good, and Christopher Eccleston, who some people might know as the first Doctor Who from the revamp, plays somewhat of like a villain in the end who might not be a bad guy, just doing what he thinks is necessary to succeed in this fight against this attack. And what I think why another reason why 28 Days Later is so successful is that it gets rid of this whole I was bitten and the audience knows, but I'm going to hide it from other characters so they don't know, but the audience will know that at some point I will turn into a zombie and kill someone. These people, they turn immediately. There's maybe a 5-second window and all hope is gone. And it just it makes everything about the movie so dangerous. So that leads me to my second movie at number 2, which is 28 Weeks Later, which I think is actually better than 28 Days Later. In 28, I'll just talk briefly about 28 Weeks Later. 28 Weeks Later is the sequel, obviously, came out a few years later, and
they gave us Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner was in it, yeah, and it's more of a studio movie where it looks very well made and a lot of money thrown at it.
From the producers of
and it's sort of like London's repopulating, and the U.S. military is in London to oversee this whole thing, and I really find a lot of the movie fascinating because the movie came out kind of at the height of like the Afghanistan war,
yep.
And it kind of showed it was like an allegory for how the U.S. is just messing up other lands and how they have no clue what they're doing in terms of rebuilding other countries with the military. And I actually think 28 Weeks Later is one of the few movies that I've ever seen where it gets better with every single scene. And a lot of movies will have great scenes at the beginning and the middle, and then they'll be followed by smaller scenes that aren't as good or not as well written. I think 28 Weeks Later, once it hits the hour mark, it gets better and better and better and better and more intense and more intense. And you rarely see that in movies. And
especially on a sequel,
right? Especially on a sequel. So it might be controversial to say that 20 Weeks Later I think is better, but I love it way more than 28 Days Later, which I think is a fantastic movie to begin with.
Yeah, because I mean, especially when you're talking. You look at that, and 28 Weeks Later is legit like what we were poking fun at here just, not too long ago, where it was like, well, we couldn't get the original guy to come back to make the movie, so it's from the producers of, so they're just putting something on there. So that
Danny Boyle produced the movie, I think.
But where they couldn't get, so they have to do something to try to draw the attention, where at least they at least produced a good sequel.
And if Danny Boyle's listening, I'm waiting for 28 months later. Just saying.
I remember watching these back to back at like a middle school sleepover.
Wow.
Yeah.
God.
Make us feel old over here.
A little bit.
I saw this in theaters, son.
Yeah, middle school sleepover, I think, and I remember liking 28 Weeks Later better because I just felt it had more action. I felt more of a connection to Jeremy Renner's character than I did to Cillian Murphy's. But without 28 Days Later, one, you're not going to have Walking Dead without it. It is the exact same premise as Walking Dead.
Well, I guess you'd have to ask Robert Kirkman where he got his influence from, because
I'm pretty sure he said 28. It's a cross between 28 Days Later and Night of the Living Dead.
Well, I was going to say, he definitely references George Romero.
Is he the comic book creator or the?
Yes.
Okay.
He's currently the guy that oversees Image Comics, but yeah, he's one of the original creators of The Walking Dead.
I like the first season of that show. Everything after that, I don't.
Just like 28 Days Later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why it works, because it's
Yeah.
going off an
Yeah.
already established great movie. So
Yeah.
no, I agree with this pick. This is a good pick.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good movie.
I need
You
to
haven't
go-
seen it? You don't like it, Brian?
No. Actually, I have both of them.
Oh, okay.
No,
I need to go
just-
back and watch these. I haven't watched
I,
these.
I do too.
I will legit tell you, I have both of them. I kind of need to go watch 28 Weeks Later.
Yeah.
I've never heard bad things about it. I just
28 days later, 28 weeks later, kind of like came and went. Like,
yeah.
it's like, okay, it's a sequel, not gonna be as good. No one saw it. Man, I don't know. Like, I've seen it a few times.
I think
better and better for me.
And it's one of those ones where I think that because since Danny Boyle wasn't attached to
Right.
it when it came out, I think that might be a lot of the reason why. Because they did leave 28 Days to be left open where Danny Boyle could have been. Cillian Murphy could have
Right,
came back.
right.
You know, they could have given maybe a justified sequel.
Right.
And so I think that's probably why maybe it didn't play off as well as some people would like to have,
Right.
because it wasn't a direct sequel. It was more of a spin-off, if you will.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's a fair comment. Also, 28 Days Later has Idris Elba, and 28 Days Later does not have Idris Elba. So,
Well, and that's just it.
for all you Wire fans out there.
28 Weeks Later, you know, it's got a lot of people where at the time, you know, some of us had no idea of who this person
Right,
was. You know,
right.
Jeremy Renner was still relatively unknown.
Imogen Poots is in it, and
Yeah.
she's fantastic in it, and she's kind of a bigger actress now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, let's go on to your number 2.
My number 2. Oh, let me bring up my list.
Brian's list is the real wild card here. I'm really excited to see what Brian brings to the table.
I referenced this sort of already.
I'm going to take a wild guess at it.
What?
Shaun of the Dead.
Yes! Because I'm a nerd. Because I absolutely love Shaun of the Dead, and I regret every single day of knowing I love this movie that I did not see it in the theater. I didn't see it until I got it on home video. And
So why Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah, why Shaun of the Dead?
because for me, this is the first iteration of being able to take the horror genre that is the zombie film and turn it on its head and give you something that's just funny. And just, you know, it took the British romantic comedy and melded it with a zombie film. You know, they're in there like, you know, we're just going to shoot the shit and we're just sitting in the pub just drinking our beers while chaos is happening outside, you know. You know, one of the things that I absolutely love is towards the very beginning of before they even kind of realize what's going on is Simon Pegg, Nick Frost are walking out of the pub and whatnot, and they're just blitzed out of their mind. They're like, do, and this zombie in the background's just like, you know,
Yeah.
they were just, I mean, when they're trying to get back to the pub and they've got the friend or whatever who's the actress teaching them how to be a zombie so they can walk through the horde and not get themselves eaten, you know, and the mom is standing there and she's like, you're doing so well. She's like, what? And she's just not paying attention. It's not that she's acting. You know, it's just a good, fun, you know, this is what gives us, you know, Edgar Wright. This is what gives us Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. And, you know, before this, all we had was Spaced, and nobody even knows, half the people even know what Spaced is because it was a BBC show that nobody has hardly ever seen in the States.
No, I knew this was going to be on your list for one.
Why? Because I'm just that transparent?
Yes. Definitely. No, I think it's a good pick. It's not my favorite zombie comedy. In my honorable mentions is Zombieland. I take Zombieland over Shaun of the Dead. But no, I think this is a very good movie. One of my favorite scenes is just once the zombie outbreak actually happens. It's him just walking through the streets, going to the convenience store, paying for his drink, and then leaving.
Yep.
And like nothing happens
Nothing happens to him
to
anyway.
him. Yeah, and everybody around him is a zombie.
Yep.
He just doesn't notice. I think that is perfect commentary on society. Just
Or-
that one scene.
Well, I was gonna say that, or you know, they're downstairs when they realize something's up with the roommate, and they're just sitting downstairs just playing video games. All of a sudden, like, wow, something doesn't seem right.
I don't like this movie, but it like you said, it brings a few things to the table that we wouldn't have had if it didn't exist.
Right.
It's, you know, a star-making performance from Simon Pegg, who's clearly a superstar
In his own right.
Right. You know, like it's such a great performance. And then his buddy Nick Frost, and then Edgar Wright, who I'm so split on his filmography, but I think he's a very talented director. And of course, like what you brought up, I think it has a lot of great commentary based on, you know, like are we just zombies walking through life?
That's
kind of what the movie's all about, and I think the movie does a really good job of, it's almost like you have one life, you better be living it type of thing.
Yep.
So,
or at least if you end up as a zombie, just be sure that you have a good friend who'll keep you in the back shed and play with you every now and again.
That's the goal.
I love that at that ending.
It's a great ending. It is a great ending. Yeah.
He's just his dog.
I hope my wife will keep me if I turn into a zombie.
That depends if you try to eat the baby.
All right, that's Ryan's number 2. Well, he talks about eating babies. All right, my number 2. It's a movie from 1979. It goes by many different names, but most known, I can sum it up with, it's Lucio Fulci's Zombie. Zombie 2 is also what it goes by. This movie, for me, it has my favorite zombie effects ever.
Interesting.
And that's why it's my number 2. It's not a great story. It's not a great movie. But the zombie effects are terrifying. They're disgusting and everything you want it to be in a zombie movie. And what really puts this over the edge, and I'm probably the only one that finds this just the coolest scene ever, is there's a zombie versus a shark.
I was going to bring that up.
And it's amazing.
It's really cool.
It's amazing.
I'm disturbed.
I have no clue how they did it, but it's very, very cool.
No, it is. That is one. I showed this to my fiance the other day, Kayla, and she didn't know what to think of it. She's like, this is really slow and boring. I'm like, but it's a guy underwater with a shark as he's dressed up like a zombie. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how they shot that. It's literally a 2 or 3 minute scene of him underwater with a shark.
I listened to a podcast recently where they talked about how they made it, and I forgot how they did it. I think the guy just jumped in and they just went for it.
Yeah.
So
he's just hoping, just don't eat me.
There's a reason it's sitting right here on VHS. Just so I can watch it, and it's...
Oh, is that one of those VHSs?
Yes, it's
yeah,
this one
it's
right
the
here.
top VHS. This pile here.
This is...
and that's the infamous, that's...
The infamous
the
pop.
infamous
The
zombie.
The infamous
right there.
zombie, on the cover. Yeah, I agree with your wife, or your fiance a little bit. I was a little bored by it, but the last 30 minutes rule so hard. Like, there's some great kills in this movie.
There is a great scene. I can't remember what the weapon
Is this the splinter scene in the aisle?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Through the eye.
Yes.
The piece of wood through the eye. Yeah.
Man.
It's so good. The effects in this movie are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And usually what can win a terrible movie over for me is effects. And this movie has great effects.
I need to rewatch it. I need to rewatch this along with a lot of other Lucio Fulci movies.
No. So, yeah, it's an Italian movie, and, yeah, I would definitely check it out.
Yeah,
I highly recommend.
I second that.
I want to know what happens if you call this phone number.
Brian, do you want to borrow my VHS copy of Zombie?
It won't do me any good. I haven't owned a VHS player in like a decade.
No, I highly recommend it if you are just a fan of zombie gore effects. This is the movie for you.
Interesting.
It is
And
the
Zombie
movie.
versus Shark.
I need to
That's all
watch
you can
this.
say. Zombie versus Shark.
Oh,
I would also
let me
borrow
see
it if I had a VHS player, but I don't.
Yeah,
So.
some of us live in the 21st century, Blake.
It's weird. It's weird that the youngest kid here has the VHS player, and the two old guys don't have one.
You know why? For us, it's old technology we want to try to forget. For him, it's vintage. He's the one going to the antique store going, ooh, what is this old technology?
Where else am I going to find this movie
I
in
mean,
Sioux Falls?
that is true. It's a very nice cover, although faded, but
It's cool.
it's very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, that's my number 2.
You can just watch it on Shudder.
That is where
Oh.
that's where I showed Kayla
Yeah,
it.
I think I'm
gonna
gonna watch it.
Yeah. Blake, you're number
Okay,
1.
my number 1 is.
Another.
This is so obvious. It's the greatest zombie movie of all time.
See, there's so many different names for this movie. It's called Zombie, Zombie 2, Zombie
We
Flesh Eaters.
need
I
to
love
edit this
that.
part. Also, I think it was shot as a sequel to Dawn of the Dead.
Yes, that's why it has so many different names.
My number 1 pick is so obvious. It's another George Romero movie. It's his best movie. It's Dawn of the Dead. It's his original Dawn of the Dead. Like, there's nothing better. This is one of the greatest horror movies ever made, period. This is top 5 horror, in my opinion. It's the number 1. It's the greatest zombie movie ever made. It's not scary, and it's not gonna knock your socks off in terms of gore effects. But like, this is it. It's got the social commentary of the times. It's got great performances. It has a tremendous opening sequence where You have no idea what's going on. You're in there with these people as a zombie outbreak is happening. It's kind of like Night of the Living Dead happened, and you're like, oh, this is a zombie outbreak, and then Dawn of the Dead is like the next day from a different viewpoint, and just filmed 10 years later, and you know what happens because of the first movie, but now you're seeing the effects on bigger cities where everyone and has no idea what is happening, and these people are escaping this news station while police are raiding this apartment building full of zombies.
That SWAT scene is scary.
It's terrifying.
It's scary.
And they get on this helicopter and they take refuge in a mall, and they end up building a life there. And Romero's commentary on how people are so used to just going to the mall and walking around spending money that we're just zombies ourselves. It's like everything about this movie is so spot on, and I think it holds up to this day. And with all due respect to Brian's pick, which I think is a good pick, this is just so much better, like the original. And man, I could talk about the movie for hours.
I'll jump in because this is my number one.
Oh, all right.
This is as soon as I came up with this list, this is the first one.
Yeah,
I wrote it. It's Dawn of the Dead.
Exactly. For me too. I usually work 5-1 with my top picks, but one was easy for me. There's no question about it.
I feel the same way. It's no question. Dawn of the Dead is number one. I think zombies is the one subgenre of horror where social commentary is what makes zombie movies great
and scary.
And then this has everything you need in that. That, like I said, that opening scene with the SWAT team is terrifying. The wife coming out, I believe it's the wife that comes out and attacks her husband, just rips his brain out.
Yeah. And
great. I believe Tom Savini effects are in this.
Yes. Yeah. And he's in the movie as well. Yep. And along with social commentary on consumerism, it's also the scene that we're talking about with the apartment where the SWAT team goes and starts killing people. It's almost like Romero was talking about xenophobia as well, about the fear of the other colored skin people. I'm not going to say what, but it's almost like he has this viewpoint of how our government treats other people, and everything about this movie is, man, it's classic. The entire movie it's a classic.
And it has Ken Foree.
Yes.
Every movie should have Ken Foree.
All of them.
Ken Foree?
Yes.
Yeah. Ken Foree.
No, I love this movie. Yeah, this is my number one zombie movie of all time. There's nothing else I can say besides what you said. It is a perfect zombie.
Yeah, it's a perfect movie. It's just, it's one of the best movies ever made.
It is. I 100% agree. Brian, why are we wrong?
I didn't say you were wrong. I didn't say you were wrong at all. Again, maybe this is just my starting to, I'm not the horror aficionado like you two snobs are about your horror movies. But in terms of my real introduction, actually sitting down and actually watching zombie movies and whatnot, and I think it's probably why my definition of why I like the original versus this one, I enjoy this one, but you're absolutely right. It's social commentary. It's always about social commentary. Typically, when it comes to zombie movies, it's just a matter of what it is at the time when it's being made and whatnot. That's maybe why I enjoyed the original. I enjoy this one.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes for me, the one thing that I have to take away from watching these movies is they're good for what they are at the time and whatnot, but sometimes for me it's about the makeup and the special effects, and there are aspects of this movie that just do not hold up to the point where I'm literally looking at the picture right there, and your zombie is literally just somebody painted bluish purple. Face paint.
I like it. I like the weird blue zombie.
I'm with Casey. I like it too, but your point is very valid. I'm sure people now
We've gotten so accustomed to the level of special effects that we can get nowadays that we look at something like this, we can appreciate what essentially the forefathers built for a genre, and it doesn't take away from it. But at the same time, too, you look at it and go, God, it's so corny, it's so cheesy. You look at what Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead is in terms of what the zombie looks like, how the zombie acts, how the zombie is, and whatnot. I just look at that and I'm like, it's fun.
Yeah.
No, I disagree with you. You're wrong.
Well, I don't care what you fucking think, you asshole.
No,
Brian's-
I
Brian's-
get what you're saying.
Brian's got a
because
point.
95% of people that will watch Dawn of the Dead for the first time now will agree with you.
Yes.
Yes.
They will look at it and be like, oh, they're just painted blue, and oh, their hands are fine, and so I mean, I think George Romero put the money where he needed it. In this movie.
Agreed.
And
it is also 1978,
Yeah,
and so we haven't, terms for special effects and whatnot, they didn't have the polymers, the plastics, the weird shit that they've got nowadays. They essentially hadn't been invented yet.
Right.
So, I don't take away from it.
Right.
No, this is one of the first movies that Tom Savini worked on, I do believe. And
Yeah.
I think that shows.
This pretty much is one of the things that helped define his career.
Yeah, it shows where greatness comes from. I think the gore effects are really good in this movie. I still don't understand the blue zombies. I like it. It works for the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's one of the best.
Every time I watch this movie, I'm so enthralled by it, and I get so wrapped up in the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brian.
Like that's where I like if somebody were to take this exact movie and do kind of like a Cabin Fever thing, where they remake it off the exact same script and just almost do a for shot, just basically update it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would hold up very well.
I disagree. You have never seen Gus Van Sant's Psycho.
I didn't say anything about remaking Psycho, you son of a bitch. I
You
said
said
this
shot
movie.
for shot remake based on the exact script. That's what Gus Van Sant did.
I don't care about what Gus
Don't
Van
make me
Sant.
break you guys up.
All right, we're gonna keep arguing about this otherwise. But
Shut up.
me and Blake have this at number one. So Brian, what is your number one?
Yeah,
zombie
I'm
movie?
really curious.
Zombieland.
Zombieland's
Oh,
your
interesting.
number one,
Okay.
Again, I enjoy going to movies to have fun with movies, and and the ensemble cast that is Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Abigail Breslin, and Emma Stone makes me so glad that we're finally getting a sequel to Zombieland. Just everything about it. I mean, again, it wasn't your typical, zombie flick and whatnot. The chemistry that was Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg, absolutely fantastic. It's one of the big reasons why I was excited for Now You See Me when it was coming out, because just those two together, I want those two to make more movies together. They just work very well with each other. Anybody who is afraid of zombies, as a phobia and whatnot, and clowns, need not watch the end of this movie.
That's true.
Me. No, in high school.
You don't.
I hate clowns.
You hate clowns.
Yeah, fucking clowns. No, me and my buddies. This was our high school movie. You know how some people, it's like American Pie was their high school movie. Ours was Zombieland.
Explain your high school movie.
Like
I wasn't even in high school when American Pie came out. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Like the one we
99.
watched over and over and quoted all the time.
Okay.
Like our go-to.
Okay.
Because I would say me and my friend group were all Jesse Eisenberg. That's pretty much the character we identified with. The nerd drinking Code Red Mountain Dew while playing video games.
Yep.
That was all of us. And yeah, this movie I think is one of the best horror comedies ever made. It's my favorite zombie comedy for sure. I love this movie. Unfortunately, I couldn't put it on the list.
Because you're wrong.
No, I figured at some point someone would have Zombieland on this list.
And what would have happened if we didn't? I'm just saying.
It's literally in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
That's why it's there. Yeah, I love Zombieland. It is endlessly quotable, which is what number one reason for a great. The number one reason a movie is a great comedy first and foremost is its quotability. I think Zombieland has that.
Okay.
And one thing we haven't brought up, and I'm surprised Brian didn't bring it up.
An unknown Amber Heard.
No, the greatest cameo ever.
Bill fucking
Murray.
That again is also another reason why I'm super excited for the sequel. Is we get to have Bill Murray come back playing zombie Bill Murray, and we get freaking Dan Aykroyd on top of it too. No, the fact that he originally was not. I forget who was originally supposed to be that cameo, but wasn't able to do it, and they were able to get Bill Murray at the last minute and actually get him to say yes, because if nobody knows, trying to get a hold of Bill Murray is, you have probably a better chance at, winning the Powerball twice in the same month than trying to get a hold of Bill Murray. to have him say yes, he wants to do this, and be like, so what do you want to do? We just want you to be you, Bill. And that whole thing, them pretending to play Ghostbusters and all of that, to get scared, confused, and then they shoot poor Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Yes.
And he has a great death, one of the best deaths ever, I think.
It's the best scene of the movie.
Yes.
It is. If we ever did an episode on best cameos ever, this is my number one.
Spoiler.
It's my number one. Period. So
It's a great.
So
scene.
in a couple weeks, we're gonna do.
best cameos
Speaking
ever.
speaking of zombie Bill Murray, the reason why we're doing a zombie is
The
The
Dead
Dead Don't Die, which
Yeah.
is the new Jim Jarmusch movie, which stars Bill Murray and Adam Driver.
Yeah. So it's all going to come full circle here. That's awesome list by all three of us.
Yeah, there's some good choices there.
There's 14 different options for zombie movies people have.
So I forgot to do an honorable mentions, but Casey, I'm curious to
Yeah.
hear what you have.
I had Zombieland, honorable mention, Reanimator,
Oh,
as I mentioned.
I don't.
It's a controversial pick as a zombie movie, but
It's something like I watched a few times and I can't get into it, but I understand its place in 80s lore for movies.
and Jeffrey Combs is.
He's great in it, yeah.
Yes.
It's got a great score too.
It does. It's the Psycho score, but that's a different debate.
I suppose it is, isn't it?
Another honorable mention, Train to Busan.
Oh, that's a good
It's
choice.
so
That when I was looking up different movies so I could get some ideas of what I was going to put on this was on there, and I was thinking, shit, I still need to sit down and actually watch that one. I need to figure out where I can watch that one.
Brian, when you were talking about like teen comedy, Enemy Apocalypse, and it had all these genres in it, I thought of a movie that I didn't think I put my list together, which I think is very good. It's called Warm Bodies.
That one I legit consider putting on my list because of the idea of zombie. I know I see that zombie Shakespeare.
Yeah, it's really good.
Because Warm Bodies is basically Romeo and Juliet.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because if you actually look at their names.
I haven't seen it in so long, dude.
Well,
I remember my wife wanted to watch it, and I was like, no, and we watched it. I'm like, that was pretty good.
I actually had a buddy of mine. He's like, I bought this movie. You want the code? Yes. Where is it? Because Nicholas Hoult plays R.
Oh.
Romeo. And then
It's
Rob.
Amber.
Huh?
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, and then Rob Corddry, who is his zombie friend in the movie, is M, because that's all he knows how to bring, which would be Mercutio.
Oh.
So yeah, this is his version of a zombie Romeo and Juliet.
Interesting.
Yes. No, I contemplated it, but it was also one of those ones where I'm going, they're gonna think I'm fucking nuts for putting this one on
No, it's
here.
good. I want to recommend that one too.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things about
It's
it.
a- it's-
And it comes out like post Twilight. Like that's
Yeah,
where my
it's-
mindset goes.
Well, and also too with it being Tressa Palmer.
She's so good in this movie.
But she's also one of those ones where number one, I hear people getting her confused with like Amber Heard
Right.
and just age, look, stuff like
Right,
that,
right.
And that was because that's what about the same time she did like I Am Number 4.
Yeah.
Is that I don't know, there was one of those ones where it's just like, what are these? What are the two horror nerds gonna think of Warm Bodies?
You haven't seen it?
I haven't watched it.
It's good.
I enjoyed it.
It's good. It's good.
For me, this was probably the first Nicholas Hoult movie after the first X-Men that I had seen.
Oh.
To finally, to see him where he wasn't Beast. So I think this is a great honorable mention.
Yeah.
My last one, I only put it on because I probably couldn't have had this with Frankenstein.
Because
the Evil Dead trilogy. Not many people would consider that zombie movie.
well, he's not zombies because he's a Deadite.
They come back to life though.
They
don't
come back from life. It's reanimated corpse.
I'm just saying.
This is if you include the virus zombies or zombies.
Yeah, you really need to.
Yeah, it's a wide array of zombie.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you can narrow down the origins of a zombie to one thing.
Yeah.
Because if you
Not
look
anymore, anyway.
No, you can't.
in the original interpretation of what a zombie is nothing like what it is now. Because original zombies dealt with like voodoo. Yeah, so there's I think they would have counted, but
That's why I think Romero is the godfather of the modern day zombie.
yeah.
Well, I wouldn't even call him the Godfather. I'd call him the creator.
That's what I meant by that.
He owns that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nobody else pre George Romero that's like, I'm gonna make dead bodies walk in the earth.
Yeah, that was the last of my honorable mentions.
Good choices.
So,
Good
yeah.
choices. So if people are looking for zombie movies to watch, they have a pretty good list to go off of this.
That's a pretty good list to watch.
They could go watch the Resident Evil movies.
No, Brian, we're talking about good zombie movies.
Hey, again, I will still say, for the sake of a video game movie adapted into video games adapted into movies, at least the first one's not horrible.
It would be like a second tier honorable mention for me. I think the first Resident Evil
For video game movies or for
for zombie movies. It's fine, but
it's not great. I can understand.
All right, let's wrap this thing up.
You
That
wrap
was
it.
ours. So yeah, there's about 20 zombie movies you can check out
Yes.
right there before you go watch the next zombie movie, The Dead Don't Die. I mean, out of the movies that are coming out, that one's obviously the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why we're doing zombie movies.
yeah, we're gonna give the Shaft to MIB, I think, and just go with the
We're
Dead
gonna
Don't
give the
Die.
Shaft to MIB.
If you know what
I
you
see
see what I'm
what you-
getting at there.
All right, let's move on to our plugs for the show. We got to plug some new stuff we got going on at Backlot 605. We have contributing writer Andy. He just did a review for the Dark Phoenix movie that just came out. I think he was pretty on par with what most critics are saying. It's not great. Not great.
The part where they're like, this...
It's not good.
It's not that great. But check out the review.
Yeah, check out our review now on backlot605.com. I will be doing a flashback film review of Napoleon Dynamite this week.
And we will soon be having one here shortly from Jameson for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003.
Whoa.
The reboot.
Whoa.
All right, I'm interested to see
Interesting.
So it's going to tie in with some of our horror stuff.
I'm curious to see what he says about that movie.
Yeah, we'll check it out here after the show. After you guys are done listening to this, definitely check out that review. Right now on the backlot605.com, you can find our interview with Allison Berg, who works at Labyrinth Films. She has a new movie coming out called Stay the Night. We just did an interview with her. Definitely check out our interview now on backlot605.com. We also just did an interview with the director of the Snake Alley Festival of Film, which is in Burlington, Iowa, which happens, looks like, I believe it's the second to last week in June.
The 20th through the 23rd.
20th through the 23rd. Definitely go check that out. Awesome short movie festival happening in Iowa, just across the state for all you South Dakota folk listening. You can check out, coming soon every Thursday, check out our buddy Andy at Fat Dude Digs Flicks. And yeah, anything else we got to plug that's going to be coming up on the site, Brian? That's it.
I don't know. What's Blake working on?
I don't know. What are you working
What are you working on,
I
Blake?
think I'm gonna get a review done by tomorrow.
Of what? You don't know.
I watched. What did I watch? I watched Gloria Bell last week, which with Juliette. No, not Juliette. Julianne Moore. So I might review that.
So by the time this is up, Blake will have a review up on the website.
We just don't know what it is yet. We haven't thought into the future yet.
You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube. And what's our last one, Brian?
Tune in.
Tune in. I'm going to do that every week until I memorize it.
Or write it down.
Yes.
Put it in your notes that
It's
you
in my
change
notes.
every week.
Yes. You can also check out our TeePublic store and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also check out the Sioux Falls Film Community right now on Facebook. That's yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, please contribute to this film community group because we have some good discussions sometimes on there, and we need more traffic through that.
Yes, we need some more people on there. So definitely, if you know any friends that like movies or like talking about movies, send them that way.
Please invite them to the group. We will accept anyone.
Anyone.
We are the cult. We will just take anyone that will.
We're the film cult.
We are the film cult.
Yes.
We are the film cult.
All right, so that's it. That's been the show. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Definitely check out all these zombie movies. And don't be zombies after watching this 2-hour-long video. Holy crap.
Video.
Yeah.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah. So yeah, until next time, thank you for being on, Blake.
Thank you very much for having me.
He needs to be on more often.
Yes, we are working on something with Blake right now to be having him on more, talking about this certain genre.
Ooh.
Maybe he needs to tell me too.
Hint, hint, hint. It's just a hint for Brian, too.
Yeah. Just for everybody else to hear, though.
All right, Brian, thank you for being on.
I'm always.
Did we give you some new movies to watch?
Me?
Yeah.
You guys give me new movies to watch all the fucking time.
That's all. That makes me happy.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time on the Backlot, the South Dakota.